If you could just introduce yourselves to the fine folks at home, I'd really appreciate it.
My name is Anna Maria, and I am the founder and vocalist in the band Vajra.
We love playing on stage, so we go up there and we have a good time, and we want you to feel that.
We're all musicians from different pasts.
That ended up being one of my favorite songs that I've recorded.
One of my favorite horror movies is Event Horizon, how it was like a possibility, almost like using science to rip yourself into hell. Oops, you know.
You want to hear it fast. You want to hear it well played. You want to feel that intensity.
Punk rock is not an excuse to suck.
All right, and welcome back to another episode of Heartfelt Horror. I'm your host, William Hamilton, and if you could please introduce yourself to the fine folks at home, I'd really appreciate that.
Yo, my name is Spooky, and I am Spellgrinder. Thanks for having me on.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being here. So let's get right into it. I had a bunch of questions for you I wanted to go over. The first of which was, what is it that you would say really defines your style of music?
Oh, well, it's two things. One is it is all horror themed, subject matter, and then our attitude defines us. And that attitude is dangerous, powerful, professional.
Yeah.
I love shit that came from the garage, but Spellgrinder wants to be the greatest band of all time, have that danger, but also have that professionalism, just sound huge, scary, rad, you know?
Hell yeah. And that was one of the things I noticed when I was going through your guys' discography is you have a very clean, very polished sound, but it's still got that hard edge. It's still got that kind of spooky, cool, melodic feel to it, and the riffs are awesome. And we're going to get into all that, audience, in a little bit. Let's go back a little bit, though, and start with this. How did this whole project start? What was the genesis of it? What inspired you to, move in this direction?
There's a couple different things. I've been in bands forever, different degrees of success. I've been a hired gun. I've done all these things. As far as my own bands, they're cool, but I really wanted to do something that was in the heavy metal genre. And I wanted it to be stylish and exciting. Something that was a lot easier to sell than like the tasteful glam influenced power pop that, it's like, oh, it's like Tom Petty and it's just like no one's gonna fucking like pass out pictures of you at the airport for like that kind of stuff. It's these extreme, more fun genre conceptualized art projects, which I have always loved, which I've always been drawn to. And my most success I've ever had is when I'm doing something that's very conceptualized and a strong statement. Spellgrinder is the most extreme. And because of that, it's been the most rewarding. I've put the most effort into it. The songs write themselves. I only release the good ones, but always... I'm always just coming up with, oh man, that would be a great Spellgrinder song, great Spellgrinder album, great Spellgrinder riff. And it's just so fun. And then we'd probably get into this later, but it's really fun to write Spellgrinder because I like to go with simple. Like it's a heavy metal band, but I'm a punk rocker my whole life. The power that punk was to take the excesses of rock and roll and reduce it back to what's actually fun, marketable, dangerous, the best things in rock and roll. I think punk just, like glam, reduced rock and roll, reduced a lot of its excesses, and Spellgrinder, I'll take heavy metal, and instead of like adding in fucking 50 more notes and up in or dropping the tempo, it's like, let's take out half the notes and just see where it needed to listen to more punk and just get a little simpler. And yeah, I wanted Spellgrinder to sound like Danzig and Pantera, and that's like
that is such a good description. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there, but that is such a good description.
Thank you. That was the starting off concept. Like I wanted it to have that power, that punch, and razor sharp kind of production of like early 90s Pantera. But I wanted to have that bluesy sexiness and kind of horror themes that exist in a lot of Danzig's work. I'm a big Misfits fan, big Sam Hain fan, huge fan of the first 3 Danzig albums.
Oh yeah, that's just good stuff.
It's so good. So I wanted to do something like that. Now things would creep in. You could see Judas Priest creeped in, Anthrax creeped in. Things that are fun for me. A lot of my, I put undercover punk rock in there, undercover pop in there. These are all pop songs, really. And I do that so you don't have to get bored before the fucking vocals kick in. I respect you guys' attention spans, and that's from my punk rock. I'm a Ramones guy. I like having fucking bangs as an adult, and I like short songs.
For sure. No, I really appreciate all that. When I was going through, I was listening to the 2 albums that I've heard so far, Planet of the Vampires and Spellgrinder. And I was going through and I was listening to it, and I heard all those influences you were saying, and I was really intrigued by it. Like on this show, we've been trying to make an effort to have bands on that represent horror in a wide range of like styles and genres. And when you said, it's a little bit Pantera, a little bit, Danzig, in that kind of vein right there, I heard that and I felt that, and I was like, this is really cool, because the way you were writing the songs, they do have that like classic kind of metal vibe to it, but it's completely, you understand the spirit of it. You understand the spirit of like the songwriting process that those bands were going through, but you aren't necessarily aping anyone either. It sounds like a Spellgrinder song, which means you took the lessons from these bands and applied it to yourself in a really strong way, and I really appreciated that.
I'm in my early 40s, so like it's because I'm awesome. Like I worked my ass off my whole life to get good at it. So it's like the funny thing is, though, it's like sometimes, like I recorded an album when I was 15. In a lot of ways, that's the coolest shit I ever did, because like there's a purity, an innocence. You go through these phases if you are an artist, you go through a phase where you are just razor sharp. You're trying to put out something kind of influenced by what you're taking in, but it kind of has whatever weird habits and isms that you have, it's in it. And then you go through a phase where you're like, okay, then you really study, and you become very slavish to your influences, which is fine, do it. But then if you're going to keep on going, you find your own voice through all that, through learning material, through examining different styles, genres. Really, what's really interesting to me right now is the way music always was it was collaborative processes. You would have 3 dudes, right? But then again, they're only okay on their own. Then you get a manager that kind of like whips their butt into shape. They bring these idiots to some producer. The producer's like, okay, that guy's really sharp. So he uses his specialized skills to get you guys to rein it in and turn it into something. And there's a guy that knows how to mic your shit. There's a guy that knows how to advertise. I've heard a lot of your guests touch on this.
Yeah.
We gotta do that ourselves now, right? And you'll listen to like the Motley Crue, like their demos before the album came out. You can hear the lines that they changed around. You can hear the riffs that they got better together. You can hear that, like, oh, they kind of tightened this up. That was a process. There were meetings about that. How can you be that guy to yourself? You know,
Yeah.
like some people have people to bounce shit off of. Spellgrinder is so personal to me, and it's so designed to be something that I didn't get into metal as a kid. I didn't think it was that cool. I thought it was dorky. I liked certain things. I liked Sabbath. I liked Dio, even though, you know, like, to be honest, you know, the guy sings about what Dio sings about. And so but Dio's funny. So like, that's, you know, it's fun. It's rad. I like things that are rad. But then again, like, I couldn't deal with like bands of ugly guys that didn't know how to dress that looked angry. I was just like, what the fuck is this? Like, I like the Ramones and the Sex Pistols, New York Dolls, Stooges, David Bowie.
Yeah.
Fucking, like, I like shit T-Rex. I like shit that knows how to just be fucking loud and proud. And it's just, you know, it's just, I love the Beatles. I like shit that just, they got together and they figured it out how to like present themselves. And, you know, and the Beatles didn't come to Suits on their own, you know, like
Right.
that was a team. And now, well, luckily we had all those people doing all that for us. They all wrote books about how they all gave up their publishing. They all got ripped off. We could sit here now and we can just, if we put in the time and if we have the talent, we develop talent, we can whoop ass. And that's what Spellgrinder wants to do is, that's what you asked right now. So yeah, I wanted Spellgrinder to be the band that would have got me into heavy metal. It has the production that I would have liked. It has the image that I would have liked. We're having a good time. We look cool. I got a go-go dancer in my band. We're kind of presented like the Cramps because I like Lux and Ivy. My Ivy is Nephthys, my wife. And so, you know, Spellgrinder does have a solid lineup. Got Stone, longtime bass player. I do go through drummers like fucking Spinal Tap. And that's okay. You know, I built Spellgrinder in a way where I make everything, I write everything. So it's like, it's not like we lose a member and oh shit, we don't get to be a band anymore. Like I've had too many bands like that. And it's just, it's the word, you know, you just building your shit wrong, right? Like build it so that if like this dude impregnates his wife, you're not shitting on the last 10 years of your life. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like learn how to build a product that you can sustain, right? And so yeah, Spellgrinder has that, but like it's a cool heavy metal band. That's
for
fun.
Sure.
It's not about my feelings. It's not about politics. It's not about anything topical or I mean, like, you know, it's sensational. We talk about some brutal ass shit, but it's fun. It's horror short stories. It's like Tales from the Crypt episodes.
Yeah, and you know, touching on that a little bit about all of what you were saying, I was thinking about you know, image and like how important it is. And you know, so like you've said, some of the guests have talked about this that have come on in previous episodes and previous seasons. Putting real effort into your image is really important. Like audience at home, like actually, if you're interested in making music, it's not just about making music. Don't get me wrong. You do need to write good songs. They do need to be solid, but you're a performer. You're an entertainer. You're out there to be on stage. You're out there to put this big performance or show on. And that's what people are paying to see. They want to go out. They want to dance. They want to mosh, whatever it is, you know, if you lean more one way or whatever in the style. But yeah, and all of those influences that you mentioned, T-Rex, Bowie, like the Pistols, the Ramones, all of that, even they understood that. Like the Sex Pistols, like that is a lot of marketing to go into making that band blow up. And don't get me wrong, I love the band. I think they're great. But, you know, all of those influences, there's something that should come natural to horror punk. When a band doesn't like take themselves seriously, when they don't, or horror in general, I should say, horror rock. When a band doesn't take their image seriously, and they don't, take the songwriting seriously, and they don't take their album covers, seriously, or things like that. That says to me as a audience member, hey, like, they don't take themselves as seriously. Why should I? If their production quality isn't good, why should I care about the songs? Now, that's not necessarily fair, because maybe there's some really good songs buried in that bad production. But I will tell you, you will turn a lot of people off if you don't make the effort to clean it up even a little bit.
Yeah. Well, no image is an image. Like, so yeah, you attract what you put out, you attract what you put into stuff. And this is stuff that I don't understand. And there is some stuff that is really good, but they didn't understand how to present themselves like that. Therefore, I don't need to fucking know about it. You know what I mean? Like, and so, and image has to change. Like, there is like a common thread through all like the evolution of pop music and rock and roll and stuff.
Oh yeah.
But there's formulas to it. Like, grunge had this seeming lack of image, which it's not. It's grunge. That image existed to make them not be thrown in with what came 10 minutes before it, which was Guns N' Roses, which Guns N' Roses was a more badass version of what like Poison and Crew was doing. Guns N' Roses were like cowboy pirates.
Yeah.
Most of the guys are like poodles in neon, like bless their hearts, but it was more connected to like that catsuit shit, right? Which I love catsuit shit, but image has to change. It's the same product almost going throughout all that. Like, there is very little difference between like late 70s to the mid 80s to the early 90s. Like, there's arena rock. Now, what they did between like late 70s arena rock to late 80s arena rock, it's different haircuts, different instrumentation, and clothes. Different image, but it's still the sound of the same shit. And then even if you listen to fucking Pearl Jam, now you're putting it in fucking like ripped up shorts with thermals under it, with like long hair. Now he doesn't seem like he cares. You're like, yeah, but it's fucking 70s arena rock. STP is 70s arena rock, but the image changes. And that's really interesting, because there's shit that's really good, but the image sucks. Like, I never got into Rat because when I was growing up, I was born in 82, so like Rat is like, they exist, they're omnipresent. But by the time I'm like a little rocker, like seeing Rat, just like, that was so fucking lame, like when I came into everything, it was like, 1991 ish, like I was like, it was Michael Jackson, then it was like Nirvana, and that stuff seemed really silly. Motley Crue was seeming silly at the time, which Motley Crue was huge at the time, but the industry was letting me know that these guys are approaching their sell-by date, so we're trained, we're kind of conditioned to think certain things are good, certain things are bad. A lot of bands that are like, oh, I want to be a horror punk band. Who are the best horror punk bands right now? How good are their recording? And so when you're trying to be like them, you're doing the bad recording too.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
If they have really minimal artwork, you're going to copy the minimal artwork, and because you're trying to get their fans, and you're a fan yourself. And there's that. When a lot of the big moves are made, it's when you're taking that, but you figure out how to give it some wings. You're like, how do I take this out of the fucking basement? And think about it like goddamn Sam Phillips. Like, think about it like that. This is really cool. How can I make some fucking money from millions of people doing this? I have to go and like tweak a couple things. Do those couple things make it not authentic? Nothing is accidental, but like, it's all calculated, and you gotta figure out how professional do you want your shit. And like, yeah, with our album covers, like David Paul Seymour has worked with a lot of great bands. Anyone could look up David Paul Seymour. The guy is fucking pro. I shouldn't even share him with you because I don't want other bands to be as good as Spellgrinder. Like, I'm shitty I'm competitive. I do support lots of bands because I love them and I believe in them. I'm a huge fan, but I don't support shit that sucks. Like I hate shit that sucks. Some bands are like, oh, support everything. It's like, fuck that. My fans don't have all the money in the world. I don't want them to give that money to bands that suck. Those guys need to either get better. I'll tell you right now, because like, so my mom can't mess with Ouija boards, don't mess with this, you know,
Yeah.
no Magic the Gathering cards and stuff like that. All that style of morality is the perspective of Spellgrinder songs. So like my bass player has just discovered Christianity, and like he's just like, I don't feel comfortable with playing our songs. Like, why? It's like, well, because it's like it's about the devil. Well, it's like it's not about the devil. It's like, well, they're moral tales, but I have an evil devil. Like I don't like
For sure.
that make the devil a cool dude who was he's actually a Democrat and he recycles and he's actually a woman and you know, and it's just like, what? Why are you trying to make the devil a cool dude? I like my evil, scary, bad devil that, you know, my mom's afraid of. So a lot of that morality, that's the subject matter of Spellgrinder songs. It's just like, don't mess with, it sounds eviler than it is, but it's actually like, we're almost Striper, you know, like
Yeah.
there is a that the devil is evil in Spellgrinder songs. We're not trying to get people to worship the devil. That's dorky. I don't like it. I don't like this like neo-Satanist. It's so dorky. It's cooler to let the devil be evil. Then be evil, but stop trying to like make everything that's bad good.
Yeah, like since we're going down this, I'll say this. I have had this ongoing pet peeve with the idea of people making dragons your friend. Like dragons are fucking monsters. Like they are evil incarnate. They are the savage beast. They are a combination of all the worst things, and they should be. They're scary. They're supposed to be scary. That's what makes them cool. They're like the monster, you know. And it's the same thing with depictions of the devil or whatever. And I love the Dante's Inferno depiction of hell because I think it's just such a cool, like you were saying, it's evil is evil, right? And it's a cautionary tale and all of that, but at the same time, like those things, those like spooky things, they are a part of life. You can't recognize the good in life without recognizing the evil. Last season, one of the people we had on, her name was Jacqueline, and she did or she is a pop singer who sings about mental health awareness and stuff like that. And I thought it was important then, and I'm mentioning her now because I think it's important. The reason why I had her on was because when we're talking about these dark things, they affect people in a real way. Like you know, the music we listen to and the things that we engage with, it's all part of life. It's all part of that kind of bigger picture, and it's important to like recognize that. I love scary movies. I love horror. I love horror novels. I love horror games. I mean, I have a whole channel dedicated to, you know, the topic. And I agree with you. I think that one of the things that I like about bands like Spellgrinder, you know, darker sense in the music, which is, I feel, thematically appropriate to like what we're touching on, and fully embracing that and understanding it and using it to create your art, it can be a really powerful tool to helping deal with the trauma of real life. And I don't want to get too heavy because we've been on a good roll here, but the fact of the matter is at the heart of rock and roll has and always will be blues. And blues is a recognition of the pain and suffering and evil in the world. And if you can't recognize it, if you can't embrace it and you can't incorporate it into your life, then you're running from half of the experience of being a human being. And that's just sad.
Yeah. With hellhounds on your trail, man. And that was a big theme in that. So yeah, like absolutely. So yeah, Spellgrinder, we're here, we're not going to talk to you guys. I'm not going to show you my feelings, and you're going to, oh my God, I feel like him. You're never going to be able to relate to my feelings, so I won't fucking talk about them. But what Spellgrinder offers is something to distract you from your feelings. And also it's a sanctuary for bad people, because you know, I am a big fan of being bad. I love being bad and being good. I love the relation. I think one exists because of the other, right? And I really like bad things being bad. It bums me out that tattoos are so normal now. Because when I was younger and I was loving tattoos, they were really bad. Now, you know, my grandma has a full face tattoo. So she like, no, she doesn't really, but like, just like it hurts me to see these things that were just like, you would do them just to let people know how bad you were and not to fuck with you. And now that guy works at the bank. It's a bummer, because those things are bad, and I like bad being bad. I don't like bad being retconned as being good, and I don't like Satan being retcon as being good. When that is being done, the people that are doing it in a cool way don't fucking believe it. They're doing it to piss off your parents.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
like that's how that used to work. That's why that was cool. You know, it doesn't piss off your parents now, so that's not cool now. Like, and I don't like talking shit, except for I love talking shit. That's what they're talking about Satan, like he's this cool dude. Like Saturday morning cartoon shit. I hate that. It's just like, how about have Satan be dangerous? And then it's like, bad kids can find you and be bad kids, you know, piss off their parents, which is a beautiful thing to do. You know? So we do put huge parental advisory labels on our album covers, because that was just like, that was bait for me as a kid. I loved it.
Oh, for sure, for sure. There are so many times I'd be going through the store and I'd be looking at the CDs in the section. I'm dating myself. I'm aware of that, audience. But I'd be going through and I'd be looking in this massive library, and I'd be looking and I'd see cool artwork, and I'd look and see if there was a parental advisory sticker. And I knew as soon as I saw that, I was like, that's gonna be the one I'm bringing home.
Yeah. I mean, I had shit just because it had it that wasn't even that cool. Like 311. I remember having that album. I think that was a parental advisory.
That's funny.
That wasn't that bad, you know, but it was funny. Powerful
For
medicine, man. Powerful medicine. But the thing is, parents, watch your kids. We have songs where I mean, like the first line in Playing with the Devil, which is a song about watch what your kids are doing, because they could be doing bad shit that channels the devil, you know, like you know, you guys got to go hear for yourselves. Like, I could go and tell you about it, but you guys can't hear just how pummelingly good Spellgrinder sounds.
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure.
If you
All
play
right,
it
so
loud on a stereo, women will just show up at your house.
We've talked a little bit about the history of the band. We've talked a little bit about the various influence as well, and we'll touch more on that. But I wanted to dive into more in depth on how the songs are actually written. What's the writing process like for the instrumentation?
So I have a guitar in my hands a lot of the time throughout the day, and do things that make you want to play cool stuff. Sometimes I'll come up with a cool riff, get my phone out, go and videotape myself playing it, and that's one way to lock down a riff, because riffs are just weird little things that pop up, and you want to collect them, because you can't just always come up with a riff on the spot, but
Right, yeah.
you know, then you'll be like, damn, I wish I would have recorded that one. I had that one day. That seemed pretty cool. I'm not playing that. I'm playing this stock ass shit right here. And so having a cool riff is something that will spark the music process. Sometimes it's wanting to write to a certain beat. Sometimes that's the assignment, like, ooh, I want to have like a beat that's like a big kind of almost like an 80s hip hop beat, like it just cat, boom, boom, cat, like have something like that, have something that hits in that, and just take something that like it's like, you know, a genre you like, but I wanted to have that kind of pocket, start playing around with some riffs in that. But really the reason like I like to collect riffs is because when I'm writing a song with a melody, you'll have like a chord pattern in mind, but then you gotta put something in that chord other than you just fucking strumming, you know? Because that's not the kind of heavy metal I would want it to be, right? Sometimes you're just chugging, you know, there's a lot of power in the chug, but sometimes that's part of it. Then, because Spellgrinder is like a genre, the assignment early on was, ooh, I want to do something kind of like Danzig and Pantera. From like a song by song basis, like Grimoire, our first single, I wanted that to sound like a Hallows Eve song. But there's like a Hallows Eve song that's in River's Edge that I really like the way the vocals are barked out. And so that was, I said, no, I want to bark out vocals, you know? And then I wanted to have the chords, I wanted to be like, you know, Pee-wee's Big Adventure, where he's in the back lot, sisters on, hear no evil, don't you say no evil. So in my mind, Grimoire, aside from like conceptually wanting to be Danzig and Pantera, I'm like, all right, but this song is like Hallows Eve, but it's over the chord progression that's kind of like what I hear the vocal doing in See No Evil by
Nice.
Like just something that's always stuck with me. Like half my life, I didn't even know that was a real band. Oh, that says something Pee-wee, but like, oh my God. That's kind of how things will go. It's just like really every song, its requirement is that it has to sound awesome. It has to be interesting. And that's when you're tweaking arrangements, that's something I can tell a lot of people, they either have different attention spans than me, or they don't factor that in. And I try to really arrange everything. So like it starts off with something that is a grabber, and then immediately there's a hook. Maybe that hook isn't going straight to the chorus. Maybe that hook is like, there's got to be a hook between the intro and these are like kind of like pop songwriting tricks, but like really those, the structures are all designed to flow. Big complaint that I get from metal people is like, oh, fuck, you know what? That's a cool riff. You should play that for like 40 minutes before the vocals kick in. You know, and it's like, and that's how genres are born. But like, I would kill myself. Like I just, the songs, musically, like if I think, oh, this riff is so cool, this riff on this beat is so cool, how much of the song is this? Okay, how should I get into this? How can I, all right, let's have an intro that's like this, it goes into that riff. What would hit really hard go into this chord progression, or like this key for the verse? And then there's a pre-chorus that sets you up with just like beating the shit out of someone on a chorus. And you just like, you know, like with our next, like Gryla was, I wanted to have something that was kind of like Judas Priest. And I wanted that to be our first single, and it was going to be a Christmas release. So our first single was going to be a Christmas release, Gryla, the Christmas Witch, which I changed later to be the Winter Witch. So it's, you know, so Hallmark doesn't sue me. But so I do have genre limits.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't think of every song as just being out of nowhere. I think the songs are all different, but they belong on that album, and that's that band. I think that our first album and our second album, completely different albums, because they're different statements. It's a different way. Like my second album, my first album really, I'm sending it out to like, hey, you like Megadeth, you like Anthrax, you like Metallica, check out Spellgrinder. The people that like Spellgrinder are like, oh my God, you guys sound like Alice Cooper. You guys sound like Wasp. You guys sound like Motley Crue. You guys sound like Rat. And I'm just like, what? It's funny too, because like I'm doing heavy metal, but like my roots, I'm a punk rock guy and I'm a glam guy. So I am putting in the Sweet, and I am putting in T-Rex. I'm putting in Aerosmith. I'm putting in the Sex Pistols. I'm putting in the Ramones. For some reason, and I didn't realize it before, but that's exactly what all those assholes were doing in the 80s. And I was like, oh shit. Okay, so yeah, and I did this when I was a teenager. I invented country rock. I was like, oh, you should combine this with this. And I thought I was so smart. Country rock had existed for a long time before I invented it. But you know, it's just part of being an artist and a writer. Like, and that's another thing. Go out and do research and learn about what you like in music. Learn about what you don't like in music. There is, and now that you know how to cook in your own kitchen, you think, oh fuck, well, I like this one thing a lot. What if I did only that? Sometimes that's good. You know, it's like, oops, all crunch berries, but it's rock and roll, you know? Like that's sometimes a good thing, but sometimes you'll realize, oh, I'm missing something. Well, at least I am, you know, like doom bands, whatever doom bands have grabbed onto that they think, oh, this is the sauce. That ship leaves my island. I'm just like, yeah. Drop B with like 15-minute songs, if you're lucky. That's difficult for me. Like, and I can enjoy aspects of it, but like I can't park it and listen to doom. And I smoke pot, and I can't. So, you know, part of like that for me is I'm trying to design something that I would think is awesome, that is part of a complete work of art. So in the second album, all those songs were written in relation to each other. Some of them I had written to the first album that I was like, oh, this ain't working for the first album. I don't know what to do with it. You know, I got to the first album, I was like, this is done. This is it. I did OFD, and I was like, oh, this is an album. Like, I just thought that was the perfect statement. Cut it off. Started working immediately on the second album. And I had some songs that just didn't quite fit into the first album because I thought they sounded a little too Motley Crue, a little too Rat, a little too Dio. And it wasn't as like, just kind of brutal and caveman as I wanted the first album to be. The second album is a little more stripped down, but it's also a little more graceful.
Yeah.
It's a different genre. Like the second album has a lot of Motley Crue in it, or at least like that side of building the songs, but also going into it thinking, oh yeah, I like Motley Crue, but then like putting in a lot of slide guitar because that's what all those bands did around like their third or fourth album. The guitar players played all the licks they know how to play. They're bored. They don't want to repeat themselves. They all just discovered blues. And so now they're playing kind of like rudimentary slide. I don't want to give any, like, don't tell too much about my past, you know, but like I rip ass on slide. So being able to put that in songs on the second album, it was really fun. But yeah, so sometimes gear was writing my riffs. You know, on the first album, I'm playing on gear that makes me play like that.
I see. Yeah, I see.
I'm playing on the first album was all like Dean MLs, like Dimebag guitars with Floyd Rose's and Bill Lawrence's in the bridge. The whole album was recorded on a Randall Scott Ian signature amp because I wanted to have this fucking brutal Dimebag tone. I ended up buying the Scott Ian because with all the thrash bands, like I love that dime tone, but Anthrax has the best fucking guitar sound. So I really wanted to get that. All right, now Scott Ian jumps over to Randall. They're making like a souped up JCM 800, but more Randall-y. And then I'm going and like slamming that with like a Fortin 33 pedal and a Fortin Zool noise gate, because that thing, you don't want a noise gate, you just you need to be able to use silence. Now that gear was like brand new to me, because you got to learn how to play metal if you're going to play metal. Otherwise, you're not playing metal. You're probably playing hard rock. Because I naturally would be playing hard rock, I did metalisms, and that gear was really contributing to the riffs I was writing. I might be going beyond the question you asked, but like that's part of where the music comes from too. Is you want to write a metal song? You could write a metal song on an acoustic guitar, but like a lot of just like trying it on. Writing metal riffs, it's a lot easier to write metal riffs on an electric guitar with like a good sound, you know? And
for sure.
Letting that kind of dig in and then just fucking with it and just seeing how to dig in. Ooh, get in a squeal here. Let's go and like give that some vibrato, and now you're nasty. And then also what I try to do is take what I've done. Where can I reduce that? Where can I simplify that and just get more to the primal punch of it? And that's part of where the songs are coming from. Another thing, maybe you don't even know it's in what you asked. Some Spellgrinder songs are songs that I had written a long time ago. That I wrote them, they were cool, but never released them. Didn't do anything, and they're just part of my library of thousands of demos. Because I've been writing songs my whole life. I try to write 5 songs a day at least, and they're not all winners. But after 42 years, like you have songs, you know, and so they're like Dr. Blackburn that's on the new album. That song existed in a very different form 20 years ago, like when I wrote it. Voodoo Fingers, that's on the new album. That song was really heavily musically, lyrically. I wrote it about 18 years ago, but it was called Dirty Fingers. It was about something else. It just horrified it, you know? Because I wanted like a cool Sex Pistols rocking kind of sounding song. That song was that song. I actually wrote it for my man Eric Melvin and NoFX. He was making a solo album a long time ago. And now he's made the album, and it's like electronic. But back then, like my wife and I were set up by his sister. And I was good friends with his dad, Stu, when Stu was alive, my man Stu. And so I was writing a song because his brother-in-law was like, yeah, let's get some songs together, give it to him. He's making a solo album. It's like, all right, yeah, I want to give him Dirty Fingers, right? Didn't work out. And it's like, fine, I'll use it one day. It's on the album now. Now it's Voodoo Fingers. But like, that's the thing. Just always be writing, be critical. And it's not always right for everything. Sometimes you need to work on it a little longer. Sometimes shit just comes out right. If you just shit out a song and it feels good, you're probably right, you know? But if it doesn't feel good, don't be afraid to work on it for a really long time, you know? Like, don't make yourself insane. Put it in your file, and maybe 18 years later, you might be like, that's kind of a burner, you know? Like, that's maybe all I got to say about that.
Okay. Well, I got to say, some of that advice is, well, all of that advice, I should say, has been fantastic. Whenever I'm interviewing people and I'm talking to them through this part of the interview, we come to this point where I ask them, how do they write things, and these habits kind of just come out that like, oh, well, I do this, or I have a spot, or whatever. But one of the most consistent things to for the audience at home, and I will hammer this home 1,000 times over again, is like he was saying, just write your songs. You're gonna write. I last year I wrote one song a day every single day, as I getting back into the practice myself, and 90% of them were garbage, probably more than 90% if I'm being honest. But I did write them, and it sharpened that muscle, it moved that memory, and it helped me get back into the flow of things. As I've been working on my own project, these habits have really helped, keeping those banks of recorded riffs, recorded lyrics, recorded melodies, whatever it is, having that on hand, because you never know. You never know when that lightning's going to strike, and that riff that was like, maybe it doesn't work then, but like you're saying, a couple years later you hear it just randomly and you're like, oh, I can work with that. I've got new experience, new ideas flowing around. Like you said, you change the lyrics of the song, make it more Sex Pistols and everything, and like there you go. Like that's how I have found writing works. And so hearing it confirmed and being able to share it with all of you at home, that's what this show, a lot of this show is about, is me learning from people who are putting this into practice and sharing what we're learning together, so you can do that as well. So take that to heart and take that seriously. In the same vein, I wanted to ask you about, because you mentioned you want to write songs that are badass, right? And I totally get that. One of the things that I've been curious about is, and I haven't run into anyone I've interviewed yet, but when I'm talking to people online, there are a lot of bands that write with what I call intentionality. And what I mean by that is they know when they're going into a song, okay, this is going to be my lighter song. This is going to be my, I'm going to do like a slow waltz, or this is going to be my power ballad, or this is going to be my mosh song, or whatever. When you're writing, does that ever come into play for you, or is that that's a non-issue and you just write what you write?
If I'm writing, it depends on the assignment. And the assignment, we're talking about Spellgrinder specifically. So I'm writing to an album. Like when I'm writing, I like to work an album at a time. Sometimes I'll write something it's not for the album, but with the album, I know the peaks and valleys I want it to have. Writing the first album, I was writing my first set.
Yeah.
So in that sense, you're writing what you're going to be presenting an audience. So you want to have the up tempos, you want to have the mid tempos, you want to have a tush push, you want to have stuff that you should think about it, because you can really hurt yourself. And I did make mistakes with not mistakes, but I did things that I had to write myself out of. Writing the first album, I was considering, all right, I'm going to be playing this in front of an audience. How's it gonna rock them? How powerful is it gonna be? Like, yeah, I like this. Oh, I want to do an up tempo. I really liked how frantic the verse section of 5-Pointed Star was.
Yeah.
That's the second song on the album, I think. So like, that's the second statement I made. Like the first was this. That was my first single. That was all anyone knew about Spellgrinder. The second song was going to either demolish, do something with the knowledge about what this band is. And you're informing somebody who you are as a band, as an artist, through every statement. And because I was releasing a single at a time until I came up with the first album.
Yeah.
I did that with the second album. Second album, I released all at once, a year after the first album, just to prove to everyone that Spellgrinder is awesome. Like that was like a flex, that was like, everyone's like, oh, they go and work that hard on that album. Your second album's like crap, or it's light, or it's way later. I did an Elvis Costello, and I wanted to just like the first few years of Spellgrinder being around, I wanted to just be shitting out just solid gold albums at a rate that no one can keep up. They're just like, okay, yeah, like no, like I like what I do, blah blah blah, but I will never be able to keep up with the output and quality of Spellgrinder.
For sure, for sure.
And Spellgrinder does that. No record labels, no one asks for it. And we have a awesome True Blue audience and help from you. But this is all grassroots. There ain't no one on anyone's payroll getting this under people's nose. This is all passion from all of us, right? So
yeah.
No one asked for it. So part of my thing is I do like professional products. I do like that. I do like all those things. So like I put that into my product. What was the question again? I got off.
So what I was asking about was what I call intentionality, and that's like and you did answer it. The idea being is that like a band will think out, like you said, either like, hey, what's my set list going to be, or how do I want this on the album? And the idea is that are you writing to a type of song? So like this is going to be the song that's more the mosh song, this is going to be the song, and then maybe like you'll pull riffs from that bank you were talking about, and then like, oh, this works for that, and then the song is kind of
so with the first album, no, like I listened to tons and tons of music. So like I osmosize, like I did want to get, like I wanted to, conceptually, I wanted to have that Pantera, that Danzig, that Anthrax, Megadeth. Like Megadeth, we get a lot of Megadeth comparisons. It's only because I go into this kind of voice, like when I'm doing these talking parts, it's like this crypt keeper character that kind of comes in. That is a stylized character that Spellgrinder has, right? People hear that, so they're like, oh, it's like Megadeth. It's like, yeah, if they couldn't fucking play, but like I love harmonized guitar solos. I like certain things. So a lot of what I'm doing sometimes is I'm writing music that I like, and it's rock and roll music, but putting it in the metal genre in a way that I would like, in a way that I didn't think it had been done yet. I love Pantera, but Pantera doesn't hit like Danzig. I wasn't able to like Pantera until I was like, I don't know, I was like 27 when I got into Pantera, when I was a kid, I just couldn't be getting into like big old corn-fed shorts wearing dudes. Like it wasn't cool to me, and it's very cool to me now, but like still like I don't look like that. So like I present my shit in that New York Dolls, scumbag bullshit kind of way that I'm that guy. But with the second album, I had been performing that first album and going out. It had been finding an audience. Two things happened that really informed the way I was going to build that second album. One of them was I went to Psycho Las Vegas, and I was just taking notes, like a big old heavy metal by the pound festival, like a 2 or 3 day festival. And, I got to see a lot of bands I liked. I got to see a lot of bands. It didn't matter if I liked them or not.
Yeah.
and it's funny because the sound mix is not always great. You can't always figure out what chord is happening. Like the note value's gone. You're hearing like, right? You can hear the drums. Sometimes you can hear vocals, either like a rhythm or a melody to the vocals, right? But what I would take out of that is that the way that these bands would build every song, where it would have these peaks and valleys where this would be the all right, now I want everyone to do some fucking push-ups. This, and then after like a regimented point of that, then it goes into this breakdown, and then there's like this, all right, now I want everyone to do this, and it's like, you know, it's like do-si-do bullshit. It's like this guy's calling out like PE moves for people to do. But like that's how the set was built, was like every song had every beat. Every
Yeah.
song had halftime, double time, triple time, and it had all those things, and the audience would jump through all those hoops with them, and they were happy about it.
For
Whereas
sure.
I don't think about music like that. Like
Yeah.
putting in a breakdown is cool. I like breakdowns. When I'm putting in a bridge, it's more about hook. And
Okay.
maybe do something with the rhythm, do something with the key change where it just like it feels like, oh yeah, you know, like that's kind of where I would approach a bridge. You know?
Okay.
And in heavy metal, the bridge is the breakdown. And we have breakdowns, but then there's also the double time, then there's this, and really the songwriting structure is really unsophisticated.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of things about it that it just does nothing for me. But there's what the band gets to step away. They build in when the band can step away from the microphone.
Mm-hmm.
You build in where you go out. You build in where you clap in your hands. You build in
Yeah, yeah.
to do push-ups, which that'll never happen at Spellgrinder. Like Spellgrinder is more about like boobs. There's a lot of boobs at Spellgrinder shows. So, you know, that's something that I was like, okay, interesting. So, and I realized playing the first album out live, I'm just tied to my microphone when I'm not singing, because all the songs are so tight and compressed.
Mm-hmm.
When I'm not singing, I'm soloing. And I'm jumping around on my pedal board, like with the wah-wah pedal or the harmonizer or just whatever I'm doing. Like, it's a busy, tight set. And we run our sound, we set like the Ramones. Like, I don't ask everyone how they feel. You know, we talk a little shit, you know, but like we're really more into rocking people, you know, we're not, we respect your time. So there's that. Then what else happened with the first album? Oh yeah, the first album was too difficult for, like, there were certain songs that were just like, oh shit, yeah, this is hard to play. This is, and we figured it out eventually, but like there have been people that have not been able to be in this band because they can't play Gryla. So part of like writing the second album was making it simpler on drums.
Yeah, yeah.
So I could, like, you know, get more local talent to be able to support my vision. Like, obviously, I'm awesome at everything. But you know, finding people that can do that, like making detailed demos is very important for convincing people to do what you want. Because everyone's like, I don't know, I can't really see it. It's like, no, because you're not the genius. Like, you know, the genius. Like, so you got to be able to prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that like you have this picture of how awesome music can possibly be.
Yeah.
And sometimes it really helps people like you to be able to find those reference points. And so with the second album, I did deliberately put it in the vein of, you know, the goalposts of the first album, Danzig.
Yeah.
The goalposts of the second album are a little more abstract, but Ultimate Sin by Ozzy and Shout at the Devil by Motley Crue.
Nice. Yeah.
They're mid-tempo. They're not fast albums. They are pop-oriented, but heavy metal, but pop-oriented. They are songs that they hit. They have melodies, they have big beats, they have iconic riffs, they have cool tones. I like the production of that era. Like, there was something that was happening in like 80, 82. It's before like the drums got from like here to like here.
Yeah.
And I almost put it there. I almost put it in like really gated like stuff, but like we do have those reference points. Listen to our album, you are going to hear synthesizer. You are going to hear a gated snare. So when I was making the second album, I wasn't sure how to end it.
Mm-hmm.
And you're looking for an exit strategy. I was at 7 songs. I was just building it. 7 songs. Like, what could I do that would, and then I was like, a lot of my favorite albums are 8-song albums. 8-song albums are awesome.
Yeah, yeah.
Really it has to be all killer, no filler.
Yeah.
And the songs gotta have a length to them, so like I did kind of lengthen the songs. The overall average time of the songs are a little longer on this album. Sometimes it's intros, but it's because there's less songs on this album. It's the same length of an album, but there's less songs. There's 8 songs on this album. I was like, I wanted Spellgrinder has to be heavy note. That's the assignment. What if I put a power ballad on it? I've made a couple statements. Like, to this day, there's no acoustic guitars on Spellgrinder. We won't even look. The acoustic guitars are the devil. We don't look at them. But we mess around with synthesizers, and I was like, you know what? I'm doing a power ballad. I'm doing a monster ballad. And so with the monster ballad, I knew that I wanted it to be like that keyboard sound that you hear on Home Sweet Home.
Yeah, yeah.
That kind of like it's vibes with a chorus on it, electric piano kind of sound with a string pad behind it. That's
Nice.
what's on. Like I'm doing that on Bride of Frankenstein, and it's this old like weighted key Yamaha concert keyboard I got, and then the synth pad is my micro Korg. Just been using that thing. It was so fun because thinking of albums in terms of statements. Yes, I do think of the statement before. I do have reference points that involve other bands and how that's either going to affect the look, the sound, the marketing. And I really looked like I'm a punk rocker. I love to challenge people. I'm a terrible human being. And it was just so awesome to like think, I'm gonna fucking drop a power ballad on Spellgrinder fans. And then coming up with the song, which it was a song about that I had written a long time ago. When I first met my wife, I was just trying to show her that I'm just this fucking genius, just writing these awesome piano ballads, but also explaining to her through song why I'm not on medication. So it was kind of a song about, and also I'm completely insane. So like, and she was dealing with that, learning about why I'm insane, how I'm insane. And so I kind of wrote this song just to like show her like, hey, this is why it's worth it. You get good songs, but explaining myself. And that song was about not being on antidepressants and then getting on them. And then that's when the chord progression switches from the minor part of the song to the major fade out.
Okay.
And that was always intact. Those chords, I mean, that's how I wrote it. I just sat down and I shit that out. And you know what? I don't even play piano, but I can just fall on a piano and just write a hit. I don't know why. I have like, I don't have a really good left hand on me, but like, I can fake it on piano.
We are coming to an end of the interview. I just wanted to say once again to the audience at home, thank you so much for being here. Without you guys, the show wouldn't be possible. And I just wanted to say, I have said this before last season, and I'm going to say it again this season. This show is literally filmed in my home, and I treat it as, when people come on my show, as them being guests in my home. When I have a good time, it's pretty obvious. You can see me laughing on camera, you can see me, whatever. And I just want you guys to know that I have had a really good time today. And I just wanted to say I really appreciate you coming on here, taking your time and doing all of this. It means a lot, and I'm sure it means a lot to the audience. To the audience at home, take to heart the lessons that you've heard today about, songwriting and things like that. And go check out Spellgrinder. They're a killer band. If you can go see them live, if you have the opportunity, go see them play live. However you can support them, go do it. That's an important thing for us here on the show. Is we've said in the past, we support the broader genre of horror punk. I use it as more of a literary term, but horror rock, horror punk, horror metal, it doesn't matter. And I personally think Spellgrinder is doing something different. I think that they're doing something that is a very strong songwriting, and has been like really fun and interesting to kind of get to know this band and learn more about them on a more personal level. So again, thank you for being here. Thank you to the audience at home. Now, before we wrap up, are there any bands that you feel deserve a little extra attention, or that you feel are worthy of people's attention at home?
Yeah, I want to, I'll incriminate some of my good friends. Like, some of my friends have bands and I don't like their bands, so I won't say anything. But there's a lot of great bands in the area where I live, and my favorites are Alien Probe.
Mm.
Alien Probe is a conceptual art project, and they're a bunch of aliens that do like free form, like heavy rock about why do aliens probe us. They play often around here. There's a band around here called Sticky Doll. Now, here's the deal. Like, I'm telling you, they play often around here. You can experience a band without seeing them live. Like, we'd appreciate if you guys ever see Spellgrinder playing. Yeah, please. But you know what? The best way to connect with us, go watch our music videos, go listen to our album, go listen to us on Spotify. Like, really, I got a day job, so you don't need to support me monetarily. Just listen to my shit. Like, I love that. I love getting an extra view on my music videos. And and so go check out Sticky Doll. Sticky Doll is the best punk band in the high desert. Sticky Doll. They're like industrial punk. They have a podcast that they do it every Sunday, and they wear makeup and they sit in their bed. That's why the podcast is called In Bed with Sticky Doll. And I know that Sticky Doll, I don't know why they do it, but they listen to my interviews. I don't know why, but I love them. Like, I think that they're the best. They're the best band up here conceptually. That's not us.
Mm.
If it came
For
down
sure.
to it, it's like us versus them, we fucking destroy them. But really, I got these really good friends that are in a band called Ghost Wolves. I like them a lot. They're they put out albums on Third Man Records occasionally. They're from Texas, where my wife is from. It was where I was living before I moved back out here. And great band. That's those are all the good bands. No, there's other good bands, but you can't name them all. And also, okay, those are not heavy metal bands. Other heavy metal bands, good luck. There's a band that doesn't suck. No, never mind. Yeah, there's some good bands locally. But you want to know how to support me come January, like, we put our efforts into making music videos and albums. Like, that's it. That's
Okay.
like the way that I build the business is like, I want to make the greatest art possible. And playing shows, that's great. But this show, like, I just sold albums this morning. I'm sending 2 albums to Austria.
Mm. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
They didn't see us play live. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like they're connecting to the other thing, the eternal thing. Because, you know, like I love the Beatles and the Sex Pistols and, you know, a bunch of bands that you just weren't even going to see. Like
Mm.
live music is cool, but like it's more about great art and, you know, visual and just, you know, all that. And how does it present itself? All of our music videos, go to our YouTube. It's Spellgrinder 666. And then everything else is at Spellgrinder. Go check us out on Spotify. Go to our Bandcamp and you can buy our albums, our CDs, stickers, pins, patches, you know, things, beer koozies, or, you know, diet caffeine free koozies. That's what we're going to be up to. I have a website, cryptofspellgrinder.com. We're on Instagram, we're on Facebook, we're on YouTube. That's where I really put all my energy.
Mm.
Why I made a website, I don't know. You just do stuff in this world so you can seem professional. All con, you know, I'll see you guys on Instagram. I'll see you guys on the Bandcamp. You want anything signed? Send me a note. I'm happy to personalize anything, and that's what Spellgrinder does, baby.
All right. All right. Well, to the audience at home, once again, thank you for being here. Thank you to our guest. And I just want to say this one more time. This is the second season of our show, and I'm very, very stoked for this. I can't believe that, you know, this has been happening. We've had a lot of great bands from all over the world so far, and I hope that that continues. As far as where you can find the music and everything that was listed, we will make sure to have the links down below, as we always do. And with that, I just want to say once again, thank you, and to everyone, have a good night.